I like these chairs. 285.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Business and Industrial Development Authority Board meeting. Today is Thursday, September the 14th, and I call the meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. We shall begin our agenda with our roll call, first from our BIDA members, then our mayor and council, and then our guests. My name is Celissa Jefferson. I serve as your chair, and I'm the appointee for Ward 4.
My name is Anita Brown-Cadis. I serve as your vice chair, and I'm the appointee for Ward 3.
Lisa Parker, Vital Board Member, Secretary Treasurer.
Sherry Godfrey, Vital Member. I'm an appointee of Ward 1.
Bianca Motley Broom, Mayor.
Ambrose Clay, Mayor Pro Tem.
Ken Allen, Councilman, Ward 3.
Brian Heller, Stream Realty Partners.
Chris Dean, Stream Realty Partners.
Sabretha Beasley, Administrative Assistant, Economic Development, also the Assistant Secretary Treasurer of BIDA.
Ben Camber, Project Manager, Economic Development.
Dan Lee, Attorney for BIDA.
Virginia Crabtree, Stream Realty Partners.
Malik Lee Park, Stream Realty Partners. Freddie Emick, Stream Realty Partners.
Great, welcome everyone. Well, before we continue with our agenda, I would like to welcome our newest board member appointee, Mrs. Sherry Godfrey. Welcome aboard. We're so happy to have you. Do you have a few words you would like to add?
I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity to serve. It's a short opportunity, but very, very welcome, so I appreciate it. Good to be here.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we have our review and approval of our minutes for our last meeting, August the 10th, 2023. Are there any corrections or changes or discussion? Hearing none, we shall call a motion for the approval of our minutes.
Move for the approval of the minutes as stated.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, second by Member Parker. Apologies. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on, do we have any additions, deletions, amendments, or changes to the agenda?
Madam Chair, I would like to add an item to other issues, and that would be a very brief report on the progress being made on the process improvement study.
Okay. Okay, great. And then I would just like to add the planning committee for our year-end BIDA Awards ceremony, as well as a change of date for that meeting. So those two items. Okay, may I call a motion to approve our changes to the agenda?
Approve the changes to the agenda as stated.
Okay, do we have a second?
A second.
Great. Second by Member Godfrey. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next order of business is our new business. I am so glad that we have the introduction of Stream Realty team aboard for our commercial brokerage for our 6 West development.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
So I think if it's okay, we may stand and present it.
Sure.
Okay. Just make sure the forward is working. I may be pointing to the wrong location. Oh, so that's at the end, that's why? Okay. Well, it's great to see so many familiar faces and hello to a few new faces in the room. We are delighted to be back in College Park to present to the BIDA chair and board, mayor, city council, and others in the room. I think what would be helpful is to go back through a little bit about Stream real briefly, and then talk about where we are in our process, and we are delighted in the early feedback from the market and the community, which we'll share. But I thought it'd be helpful at first to start with an overview of Stream and the folks in the room. So I am, again, Brian Heller. I am a managing director at Stream and run our office in mixed use and land sales vertical here in the Atlanta market. On my right is Virginia Crabtree, who runs our development and construction services for Stream, both on its own book of business and for third-party developers. Virginia, we think, is instrumental to our sales process because she can walk the walk and talk the talk. And as we have developers that are interested in the site, we need somebody that's competent to hold them to do what they say they're going to do, and make sure that the numbers that we're getting are rooted in fact and not fiction, right? So I think Virginia's a great add to our development team. Christine, to my left, has been with Stream for over 11 years now, is our big brain in the office. Investment, development, pro formas can really help put it all together and run a process. Chris has been instrumental, along with Virginia, in really digging into the site and understanding it, not only from topography, streams, just overall ownership in the what's constitutes the 6 West parcel, but also how those pro formas work for your interests and how the end users and developers are looking at the site. So Chris is an instrumental part of our team in that effort. Down the other side of the screen, many of you may know, is Malik Leapart. Has been a Stream, I think now almost 4 years. Is a College Park native. Spends a lot of his time in College Park. We were just talking about the Dream making the playoffs and getting down here for a game soon. And Malik is a very talented connector. Salesperson is not probably doing you justice, Malik, but great in front of the community, connecting and I think drumming up new interest for all of our projects, including 6 West. And Brady Emick is a new analyst with Stream, has been with us for several months, has shown an aptitude towards all parts of commercial real estate, but has drawn a special interest to 6 West and in supporting our team. So I think what you're going to find is you're not going to have one person running this project. You're going to have all 5. You're going to see probably on the front end facing more of probably Chris and some of myself, but wanted to start with our team. And again, we were interested in this project because it's a transformative project. We believe that. And I think the early interest from the developer community has proven that out. So we're excited to talk to you about where we are on 6 West. And then a little bit, we talked about that. Stream, if you're not familiar, we were founded in the mid-90s, 2 ex-Trammell Crow partners in Dallas, rooted in more on the investment development background, but have also over time grown to be also brokers, right? And I think most of that is on the investor services side. We have started to grow a tenant rep platform, but again, we also develop and invest either on our own account or in conjunction with third-party owners. So we not only think like owners, we are owners in some context. 15 offices nationally, generally in the most high-growth markets in the country, 1,200 employees nationally, most of which are in a production role, or a large part of our group is in a production role, 14 years in counting in Atlanta. I think I kind of touched on this. A few representative projects that we've been involved with, and I think taken as a whole, I think you can be hopefully rest assured to know that we've taken on big monumental projects in the past and have been able to execute. Corey, ours was one that I was principally involved with for several years, really made a market for this project. A lot of it probably really resembles where we are today, and that is, previously wasn't on the radar in the, either in the brokerage community for those representing big headquarters users in Atlanta, nor the development community. And so we spent a lot of time introducing a brand, taking it to market, getting in front of a lot of different brokers and tenants. This was more of an office play. There was definitely some multifamily and retail planned. And I think out of this, really formed a great relationship with T. Dallas Smith in the market, who's gone on, his career has obviously taken off in the last 5 years, in part because of this transaction, and he represented Microsoft to purchase the land in 2020. There's been a lot of press about what's happened since, and hopefully Microsoft will ultimately, really make a mark in Atlanta with this site. But it was a great proving ground to, and I think a great outcome for the development team that ultimately wanted to develop this over a 10 to 15 year process, but selling it to Microsoft made a lot of sense. And at the time, that was a $127 million sale and the largest in that year in the city of Atlanta.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris. Another project that we were instrumentally involved on was Centennial Yards, and specifically the southern portion of the site, which we called Centennial Yards South. So the two buildings that you see here in the front, including this one, were the old Norfolk Southern headquarters. It was an office building for 100 years. We came in a joint venture with CIM and redeveloped the project into apartments, 162 units, 20% of which were affordable units. And we managed that soup to nuts, marketing, wayfinding, everything that you would see in a high-class development, and took that from a building that was not habitable to one that is now fully habitated and performing really nicely, and we think is the catalyst for the rest of the $5 billion project that's down there. We were also a part of the grassroots campaign against Red Light the Gulch, if you guys remember that. So we created Green Light the Gulch. We came into all the city meetings, and we were really champions of the project and pushed a lot of the state incentives forward in conjunction with CIM. So just something, another service line that we provide and context for other developers to say, hey, we can help you from a civic standpoint as well, and grassroots in the neighborhood to move projects forward, because we know how to talk that talk. And then it's a good segue into our Lee and White project. We bought this in a portfolio of 13 buildings from the Mims family. This was the crown jewel. I don't think that they knew that because they really kind of threw it in at the end. And there were some other buildings that we wanted to buy, and they said, well, you have to buy this too. And we smiled and said, okay, I guess we will. We knew the Beltline was coming in. We knew that this was a neighborhood that needed retail activation and places for people to go and gather. And we created a brewery and food district, which has now been taken on further by Ackerman and MDH, but we sold that. Back in 2019, we bought it for about $8 million and sold it for $41 million after we kind of brought the tenants to the table, developed everything. And we were really instrumental in hearing what the West End neighborhood wanted to have here, and how we could interact with that neighborhood, which is literally right across the street. And we listened to them and implemented what we could in the project, and I think the neighborhood is really happy with that as well. And so we're excited to come and be stakeholders now with College Park and listen to what you all and what your constituents want and need, and also bring that to bear at 6 West.
Good evening, I'm Virginia Crabtree, as mentioned before. So I'm more of the technical value add to the team. But I do want to point out one historical project that I worked on when I was with Rangewater. I've been at Stream for 3 years, but I was with Rangewater the 7 years prior to that, doing primarily multifamily and mixed use across the Southeast. So one of the 15 projects that I built for them was the Battery. And you guys probably know it well, you've probably been to games. But one of the really incredible things about the Battery is that we were able to construct it in record time. So we constructed all 531 units in 715 days, which is unheard of. That's like faster than most of the tallest high rises in the world. And we had a really killer development team on that project, lots of stakeholder involvement, including stakeholders from Cobb County and residents of Cobb County and Cobb County DOT. And so we really know how the lessons learned from this will apply to 6 West, and that there are a lot of different people with a lot of different opinions about what needs to be done, but ultimately we can conglomerate all of the best ideas and hopefully turn it into something great. And so this is just one example of that.
Yeah, and I think with that, I think what I'd like to maybe end with, not just very abruptly, but I do want to talk about where we've been since we've been engaged. I think everybody hopefully saw not one press release not one press release picked up, but pretty much every major publication picked up our engagement with College Park, from ABC, AJC, BizNow. I'm missing a couple, but I think just from that press effort alone, I mean, our phones have literally been ringing off the hook with interest in the site, and I think we've been blown away really by the interest from the community, small and large, all across all property types. We've been really doing is building a depot in a deal room to organize all this information, and I think what we're here to do is really amplify the message and create more awareness, and that'll translate into opportunities. We need to make a market not only for the possibility for 6 West as a whole, but also for its components. And I think we hopefully gone are the days where we're kind of going linearly from one offer to the next. We really need to take a step back and make a market, create a process, have competing developers with like-minded ideas come to the table on a more organized and unified time frame and present solutions so that we have options. And I think that's what Stream is here to do. I think you hired us because of our insight and experience, but also our connections, right? So I think that's where we are. It's taken some time. I think simultaneously we've spent time with those that have worked on this site before, and I think we're really getting our arms around what it is that 6 West is and what the site development characteristics are. And I think you will certainly in the coming weeks and months see more and more tangible evidence of our work product, and know that we are daily working with Ben Camber and other stakeholders to formally launch this process in a way that is, again, organized and effective. And I appreciate the just seeing everybody here, and I know how important this is to you. We said it when we were originally hired, before we were originally hired, but this is a transformational site, and it's a career opportunity for the 5 of us. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about the interest that's been garnered thus far just from the press release? I know, not necessarily details, but just kind of giving us a feel for what you're hearing from the market based upon your involvement.
Yeah, I would say just from at a high level, it's no secret that I think in a lot of municipalities we're underhoused, and so I think one common theme is that there are residential developers very interested in the project. I would say, and this isn't news, I think the future of office and headquarters requirements themselves are few and far between. But we've seen interest from end users, from the retail world to some extent, and we've seen interest from a lot of people we don't know, whether those are the actual developers or brokers representing them. So it's really been all over the board, and I think that's why it's taken time. Is we are going to run a process to qualify those leads, but no, I think that the interest in general has been really across the board, kind of all different types and sizes and uses.
Excellent. Any other questions?
Yes. We divided Six West up into several districts, and from I hear you saying, you're getting a lot of interest in a lot of areas. Are there any areas that don't seem to have as much interest as the original intent of the district?
I would say it falls in line with my last answer, right? I think if you're looking at it from the Sizemore 2020 plan, more interest north of the site in what's been planned as residential, more interest along Camp Creek Parkway. If I could just categorically, give you that lead, but it will all come in time. But I think that's where the initial interest seems to shake out, if I'm not mistaken. Anything that?
Yeah, I would just add, I think the vehicle counts on Camp Creek Parkway, the visibility.
You're speaking to the right
Yeah,
people?
sorry. The vehicle counts on Camp Creek Parkway, the visibility and access to the site there lends itself to, having higher interest at the, the front door. And then, as Brian mentioned, the residential interest is strong. The capital markets are tough right now. They're not impossible, but tough. But, multifamily and residential deals are still getting capitalized. And so those with money are calling us and saying that they have money to place. And those two areas have been kind of the primary focus for interest at this point.
Okay, yes.
I have a question. What do you need from us as a board? What would help you along your way? I know it's an open-ended question, but.
Oh, that I was. Look, if I think of everybody in this room through Ben, I think the responsiveness has been incredible. The access to, again, all the firms that have worked on this site to get it to this point. We've been peeling back the onion, trying to understand the site. I think through that lens, you all are providing us, a tremendous level of support to understand the site. I think. We have our thoughts on what we need from a marketing standpoint, and that will be presented in due time. But I think we have what we need, and we are very close to launching a formalized and aggressive marketing campaign.
Let me just ask you, what is the market feel for new construction and investments and so forth right now? I mean, I hear that some people want to hold off because of all the interest rates. Are there interest out there, or is it backing off a little bit, or where's the market stand, I guess?
Yeah, I would just say from a market perspective, backing up from 6 West, I would say there are still pockets of capital to find opportunities. A lot of that, again, is residential. I think Chris mentioned multifamily, but I would say home builders are very active. They want to add product in Georgia. We are seeing more of a move to underserved suburban markets. I think, it's south of the city has actually been really a bright spot, and it's a focus for a lot of developers, which is great to hear. I would say office investment is tricky, if not impossible. I think where you are seeing interest is real kind of generational safe buys that already are, taking risk off the table, and there's already cash flow to be purchased. So speculative office development and construction is not there right now, which probably doesn't surprise you. I would say, Atlanta, we're talking about Microsoft and many deals that landed at the Battery and will, land at Centennial Yards in time. But I would say, I just think with where the residential market is and the low supply, high interest rates, it's probably harder for just in general for large companies to move around and make decisions right now, just because it's harder to move a whole workforce than it was 3-4 years ago. So we're seeing that as a theme play out. Retail has been down for so many years, but is all of a sudden a darling if you can figure out the right site and back into the rents. I think there's certainly appetite for more and more retail and newer retail, grocery anchored, if you can figure out the right site. So I'm probably missing something, but that's from the major food groups that we see out there. That's the investment and development, but it just won't come as a shock. Required yields to support your investment are up, and so are costs, right? So it's a difficult backdrop, and you really need to be able to push rents or push sale prices.
Yeah, I would maybe just add, and it's not necessarily germane to 6 West because we know we don't want to put industrial at 6 West, but those deals are still getting capitalized, self-storage, things that are not activation and not wanted for 6 West. So don't get me wrong, but just throwing that out there that those deals are still getting done across the market. There have been some land sales even in College Park recently that were heavy industrial sales that are getting done. But for what we can go after and what we believe needs to be activated at 6 West, echo Brian's sentiment.
Great. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your opportunity for introducing yourself and to our city. I would just, encourage community engagement. As you know, our community has been very heavily involved in the development of the name of 6 West and what they, what citizens would like to see within the community. So I would just like to encourage that, as well as, I don't know, Sabritha, if you can add their contact information under our BIDA page on the city, on the website. But I appreciate your time and your service. Thank you. We look forward to building a community partnership with you.
As do we. Thank you so much.
So before we move on to our GICC update, we had a few people to come in after we did our roll call. So if we can have those persons just to mention your name and who you are so that we can have it on record.
Stanley Hawthorne, City Manager.
Thank you.
Am I doing it right?
There you go.
Rebecca Carter, I'm the Airport and Governmental Affairs Director.
Thank you.
I'm Dean Buhari, I'm the City Engineer.
Okay, excellent. And you, sir?
My name is Alfred Taylor, I'm a resident.
Okay, great.
Yes, by Mr. Councilman.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Now we shall have, well, I apologize. Our Director, Mercedes Miller, is not here this evening. However, she has provided the GICC update presentations. If you can review that information and then let us know if you have any questions, we can address that later. Let's move on to our update from our economic development reports.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Ben Camber. So I'll be delivering the economic development report tonight. Let me get the clicker, actually.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with our Main Street and Virginia Avenue update. So our Main Street manager, Ginger Melton, has reported a couple of new businesses that have opened or are soon to be open along Main Street over the past month. One of those businesses that's open is Main Street Tonics and Cuisine on 3819 Main Street. And then there's 3 businesses that are located in the same building there off of Harvard, or on Harvard, right off of Main Street, that are actually under construction right now. They're going to be opening shortly. So we have Unique Beauty. I'm going to not pronounce this name correctly, so I apologize, but it's Gusgueras El Gordo Mexican Ice Cream and Snacks. And then Frostology, which is an ice, like a dessert company, dessert business that does ice desserts. So those are going to be located right along that building on the right there on Harvard Avenue. So it's exciting news. Another piece of exciting news to report is that the Virginia Avenue Bridge mural is now complete, or I would say 99% complete. There's a couple of tweaks that are going to be made to just make it look a little bit more complete, but if you have a chance to, or if you haven't had a chance to drive by it, it looks really great, and I think it really is an improvement to that area of town. A couple of events that the College Park Main Street Association has coming up for the community to be aware of. Actually, tonight is the Tri-Cities Mixer. It's happening right now, so the Tri-Cities Mixer is a quarterly event that's organized between Hapeville, East Point, and College Park. And these are Main Street businesses, other small businesses from the community join together to network and share ideas and to be in community with each other. This quarterly event that's being held tonight is in Hapeville. We also have the Main Street Matters Zoom presentation that's going to be on September 28th from 5 to 7. We'll have more information on how the community can join that meeting. That's going to be a general update on College Park Main Street and the happenings that are going on there. Everyone is invited to that, and we'll be certain to share the information on how to join that. Sip and See at the Depot, so this is on October 12th from 5 to 7. This is the College Park Main Street Association's membership drive. They sell Christmas trees for the Tinsel Trail. This is a fundraising event, and also an event to recruit new businesses to the College Park Main Street Association. Main Street Landscape Bedding and Black Pots Flower Replacement that's taking place in October of 2023. And then, of course, the Tinsel Trail Light Up Night will be this year on November 27th. So moving on from the Main Street and Virginia Avenue update, I have a report on citywide new business summary. So these are business licenses that have been issued in the city, just kind of a snapshot between August 1st and September 13th. So there's been 30 new business licenses issued. They represent 250 new employees across those 30 businesses. The majority of the businesses are small businesses with 5 or less employees. But there's also a couple of larger employees that have a big share of those jobs as well that you can see: Chick-fil-A, Herc Rentals, and Everett Express. A very brief 6 West update. I know that we received the full 6 West update from our disposition broker, Stream Realty, before, but I just want to point out again that what they mentioned after the press release went out and all the media that was done around that, all of the main outlets within the Atlanta metro area, there might be another 1 or 2 that I don't have up there, covered that announcement. Obviously created a lot of interest for 6 West. And I'd encourage everyone to take a look at those articles and just see what's been written about 6 West. Also, the 6 West website has been relaunched. So if you visit 6westcollegepark.com, you'll see a fresh website. It's one that we're going to continue to be building out with Stream. That's a Stream designed and website that's really designed from a web perspective to be the front door for any interests that developers, end users, or anyone else has in 6 West. Last but not least, certainly not least, I wanted to just mention the Lottie Miller Boulevard renaming ceremony that was held on September 2nd. It's a really, really wonderful event. So this was a ceremony to rename what was previously called Road Street to Lottie Miller Boulevard. This is going to become the main north-south entryway into 6 West. A major investment that the city made in building out the infrastructure for that road, but this ceremony was all about the renaming. So it was a commemoration of the life of local leader and activist, Miss Lottie Miller. Miss Miller was a cherished community member who, along with numerous other leaders and activists from the area, dedicated her life to the betterment of College Park. Lottie Miller Boulevard symbolizes her journey as a community servant, activist, and advocate, while also honoring the historic African-American community legacy of College Park. And I think the event was really, really well attended. There was probably at least 100 people there. Really showed that, College Park's commitment to historic preservation of this community and honoring those who made College Park and this community what it is today. Big shout out to staff also on that, and specifically Sabritha Beasley, who just did amazing work with organizing the event. That's it for my report tonight, unless there's any questions.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, I also want to echo the sentiments for the renaming of Mrs. Lottie Miller Boulevard in the 6 West development. It was truly a remarkable event, and just, honoring legacy within our community. Great turnout, great weather. It was beautiful. And look forward to the foyer group working on the historic documentation of the residents there for the historic preservation. Also, I know that maybe, Mayor, you can speak to the Phoenix Trail. I know it doesn't have a part, it's not related to parks, you know, Parks and Recreation is not related to here, but I know that that is a upcoming event that the city is trying to work towards, and so maybe you can speak more about that.
Madam Chair, you were referring to the
Phoenix Trail grant,
the grant, yes,
the
okay,
grant.
because there's also a cleanup happening
There
on
you go.
Saturday
There you go.
as
Okay.
well. But for those who visit Niagara, perkyourpark.com through September 18th, we can vote and try to be in the top 3 to get $75,000 for our Phoenix Trail. And I know that our Director of Recreation and Cultural Arts, Michelle Johnson, has worked very hard on a plan that would include some beautification, perhaps a dog park as well. And so those are some of the things that the community has said that they are interested in. So if you go to NiagaraPerkYourPark.com, you can vote once daily per email. So if you have multiple email addresses, you can just hit the refresh button.
There you go.
And enter another email address. If you have 5 or 6, you can vote 5 or 6 times a day. So NiagaraPerkYourPark.com until September 18th.
Excellent, thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to other issues. Our Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you. As you know, we are really invested in conducting a process review. I'm going to stop saying Lean Six Sigma. A process review for BIDA. A group of us met this week and began to flesh out what it is we want to do. We had previously met with City Manager Hawthorne to discuss this and other issues. So just a reminder that, you know, BIDA encompasses a number of processes, discrete processes in what we do. And at the beginning is the city, and at the tail end is our realtor and others. But we're really invested in understanding these processes, how they link together, how they're working and how they're not working. And for us, the best way to do that is to analyze the process. We started with, at the beginning is an interest in a property. At the very end, we close and we start marketing the property, but there's several steps in between, and we're interested particularly in 2 processes. The reminder of what this process analysis is define the as-is process, measure it, analyze it using data, improve it, and then control it. And by control it, we mean reduce the variation. We don't want people to have 10 different experiences if they want to buy property or develop it in College Park. We want them to have a uniform and a uniformly successful experience in at least how they work with BIDA in the middle. So we want a consistent, positive, and productive outcome to working with BIDA, and that's what we're moving towards. So we have identified 5 projects that we're going to begin to analyze, look at the as-is process. We're going to take some measurements. We're going to see where the lumps and the bumps in the road are. We're going to try to define a process that smooths that out, and then come back to you, hopefully relatively soon, with a report that talks about how, once a letter of interest or intent has been presented and gone through council, and BIDA is confronted with or presented with a PSA, how do we process that PSA through its completion, through closure, and then all the way to the point where the property is actually developed and ready to be marketed. And that's going to be the focus for this process improvement and process review and process improvement that we're designing.
Okay.
Any questions?
Excellent. Any questions?
I guess I'll ask because I'm new. Yes. Who is it who's designing this process of analysis? Who does that involve?
We have 2 people on the board who have been trained and certified, one at the lowest level, that's me, the green belt, and the black belt, in the Lean Six Sigma process, which started many, many years ago as a manufacturing review process, but is now used widely to understand how do you get from point A to point B in manufacturing and life generally. So we're
Yes.
using a Six Sigma process.
Okay. I guess my question is, so it's the two of you who are?
Yes.
Okay.
And working along with Ben and Sabretha to document the process.
Okay.
Yes.
And we will report back to the larger group at
Exactly.
intermittent steps to sort of help you to understand what we've defined and what we're measuring and what we're finding. So,
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair. Next, our planning committee. So our BIDA awards will be coming up at the end of the year, our last meeting. And so there was a date change for that meeting. And if Sabretha, you can speak to that date change.
Usually, it's the last meeting of the year in December, but Mercedes did say it's a possible date change. It may have to be
Okay.
changed to the Wednesday instead of Thursday. So it will still be in December, but maybe Wednesday instead of Thursday. We have been proactive to get with the Business License Department to go over some possibilities for nominations for the group. And of course, you can add, under each category, you can add your own as well, so that will be going out within the next couple of weeks as well, so that we can go ahead and get the nominations
Okay, great.
for the winners.
And then I would just like to invite anyone that would like to be a part of the planning committee, so that we can be as proactive as possible, to email Ms. Sabretha and let us know if you would like to be a part of the committee. I forgot also to mention, I know that we have, has JITA come up or has it passed? Has it?
it's coming up.
It's this coming week.
So is this coming week? Okay. So I know that, please, I guess, email Sabretha if you're interested in attending the JITA conference. Question?
Regarding the planning committee opening, what kind of qualifications or do you require for someone to be in that?
Oh, a part of our planning committee for
Yeah,
our
yeah.
year-end awards? Oh, there's no qualifications. It's just we need your time and your service. It's just a matter of creating the floor plan, creating the engagement. It's just, yeah. So,
Madam Chair,
and we work alongside with Main Street with that. And yes, so
Thank you.
no qualifications needed.
Thank you.
And if you have questions about the qualifications for receiving the award, we do have pretty well-defined qualifications for, what is it, 4 or 5 categories?
Yes.
Of the award.
Exactly. Okay, if there are no further questions on the other issues, I thank you everyone for attending. We shall now consider a motion to exit our regular session and enter into executive session to discuss real estate and litigation.
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, I don't know. Second by Mayor Pro Tem Clay. Thank you. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. So we're going to give ourselves 5 minutes and re-engage. Thank you.
They go to executive session.